of our podcast where we're discussing life after sobriety. I'm Alex, one half of the Sober Experiment.
And I'm Lisa, the other half of the Sober Experiment.
And we have with us Rebecca Weef-Smith, who is editor of Goldie Magazine. She describes herself as positively glossy and loves life at 55. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
So before we even kick straight into this, how is everyone? How's your week been?
Yeah, well, my week's been quite weird, but it's all right.
Oh, Rebecca, I had a little bit of a stalk of you before, and I just wanted to say I am loving your Instagram.
Oh,
I just think it's so positive and inspiring. Yeah, I had a right good nosy before. It was lovely. And I really want your wardrobe. Like everything. I think it's lovely.
Do you mean an actual wardrobe or the clothes in it, Lisa?
Not the clothes in it. I'm like, honestly, they're so colourful and lovely. You've got such a lovely style. I'm dead excited. I'm really excited for tonight.
Oh, thank you. Well, I tell you what, I keep meaning to do a little IGTV walking around, because I've got like a walk-in wardrobe, walking around my actual wardrobe. So I'll do that, and I'll make sure that I let you know when I'm putting it up.
Oh, please do. Yeah, do. I'd love that.
Okay, right. So we'll start off then. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself as a drinker, Rebecca?
Myself as a drinker. So I started drinking really when I was about 14, and I'm now 55. So I was drinking for a long time. I probably never ever had a very healthy relationship to alcohol, if I'm completely honest. I think I drunk, not even particularly to excess, because I've been told I was never not very good drinker, because I couldn't really drink that much in terms of quantity. But I drank to forget things. I drank to get confidence. I didn't drink just because I enjoyed a glass of wine, and that was really from a very early age, I think.
And that went on, did it? Or did it start like that and then progress, or did it get heavier? Or
so I guess as a teenager, in the 80s, I went clubbing and got up to all sorts of things that weren't particularly healthy, and just always drunk. And I came from a family that normalised heavy drinking, so it just seemed to me the most natural thing in the world to do, just have a drink. You've had a good day, have a drink. You've had a bad day, have a drink. I developed habitual drinking very, very early on. I stopped drinking when I got pregnant, and probably stopped for 2 years when I was pregnant and when I was breastfeeding my daughters, and then just started again, really.
And I think for me, when I was pregnant and breastfeeding, because it's so easy to stop when you're pregnant, you really think you don't have a problem. That's me. I can take it or leave it. I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah.
I got told to drink Guinness when I was pregnant.
It did used to be a thing, didn't it?
It did.
Keep your iron levels up, drink stout and things like that. Yeah.
I was I worked in a pub when I was pregnant with my first daughter, and it was everybody used to say that. There was like, oh no, you'll have to have a Guinness, it's good for you.
Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it?
But that is very part of this kind of the way that we have normalised alcohol so much in our culture, haven't we?
Definitely.
It's so accepted and it's so encouraged,
Yeah.
And when you think about, I don't know about your drinking history, and I know I had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, but I have never used the term alcoholic for myself, and I don't think I ever will. I don't use terms like I'm in recovery or things like that. I say for myself, not drinking is absolutely a choice. But there's no doubt about it, as a substance, alcohol is highly addictive and very damaging to our health.
Absolutely.
And if we don't encourage people to have a line of Coke, Most people don't anyway, in the same way that you would encourage someone to go on and have a glass of white wine. And yet the health, the damage it does both to our mental and physical health, it's just as great, really.
It really
I rant
is.
a lot.
Yeah.
Go, you go, Lisa.
I was just thinking then, like you said, it's just our society, isn't it? Like Alex and myself have been today to a networking event. And as we walked into the networking event today, the first thing we got asked was to put our business card in to win a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
It was the first thing, and we had our sober t-shirts on. And then we went to another one, and right at the front door, it was a new beer that had been made with Kellogg's cereal.
Wow.
And there was like, it made me mad that today, didn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just so normal for people, and they're advertising it with cereal, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah. So can you tell us, what was it that made you decide to stop drinking? Yeah, how did you find it?
Okay, so, you know, like lots of people, I'd done dry January. There'd been sort of probably months, 6 months at a time where I'd thought, okay, I'm only going to drink on a weekend. I'm not going to drink at home in the evening on my own. You know, those you set those little rules for yourself, don't you? And so you cut down, and then before you know it, you just are back into exactly the same position you were. And I'll be completely honest, most of the time I would have a glass of wine at night. I would get home and I would open a bottle of wine. If I was on my own, I would still open a bottle of wine. You know, I'd have boozy lunches where we'd have lots of people over for lunch, and I don't know how much I would actually have consumed, but it would be quite easy for me to drink a bottle of wine myself. Now, more than anything, I knew that I wasn't drinking because it was making me happy.
Right.
And I wasn't drinking because it was fun. A lot of the time I was drinking actually because I was pushing emotions down. Yeah. And I wasn't looking at that. And I didn't intend, I had no sort of big plan for giving up drinking. We went out New Year's Eve, 2018 New Year's Eve, and we'd gone out for brunch with some friends. So I guess I started drinking about 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we carried on drinking all day. We drank into the evening, and I woke up New Year's Day, so this New Year's Day, 2019, feeling absolutely dreadful and thinking, oh, I really don't want to drink anymore. And it was as simple as that. It was like, do you know what? It's not even about I don't want to drink for dry January. I just don't want to drink anymore.
So would you say it was the hangover that really did it for you, or?
It wasn't really. I mean, I think I'd had these niggles in my head for about 6 months before, but actually my relationship with alcohol had become very unhealthy. And I knew I needed to do something about that.
So would you say when you made that decision to stop, would you say you found stopping drinking more difficult than you thought you would, or was it quite easy for you once you'd made that decision?
It's really hard, that question, because it was both. In some ways it seemed easier, and sometimes it was harder. Yeah. So I'm very good at, I found it much easier to say, no, I'm not going to drink than I'm going to cut down, because I just think we take away that anxiety around.
Definitely.
Don't we? You know, for me, it just worked. And I actually didn't say I was never going to drink again. I said I was going to have a complete year off of alcohol. And so in many ways, it was quite an easy process. But what I wasn't prepared for at all was the emotions that were going to come up. I didn't have any problems physically, and I didn't crave alcohol or miss alcohol actually at all. But I was really, really surprised how my emotions have just been all over the place the last year.
I totally get that. And I think
And me. Yeah.
when you're drinking, like you said, from around the age of 14, I was the same. I think I was around 13, 14 when I started drinking. There's a lot of things that you've never done or dealt with without a drink, and I think it can be quite a shocker, can't it, at first? It's
Absolutely.
you realise
like,
what your triggers may have been, you know. It's I really
like you're emotionally mature, isn't it? It's like you've never grown up emotionally, because, you know, things that I didn't know, and this is what I was saying to Lisa, I didn't realise that I am an anxious person. I didn't realise that at all. And honestly, the other day I was trying to drive into an NCP car park, and I had to phone Lisa. This is how pathetic it was. It was like a 12-year-old in a car. I want to go home. I can't find the car park.
Yeah.
What's happened to you? And this never happened to me before. I was as bold as brass. And yeah, I think it is. For me, it's that emotional intelligence seems to stick at the day you pick up a drink.
I think that emotional intelligence is. I feel like I'd stunted emotional growth. I really feel like I'd stunted my emotional growth through the amount of alcohol that I've consumed.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take years, actually, for me to catch up in terms of maturity in some respect. And I do think, you know, for all of the reasons that we had, and I'm pretty sure we had quite legitimate reasons to drink, actually, in the way we did. You know, I think I think it's a kind of real catch-22 situation, isn't it? You know, we drank for certain reasons. Actually, we weren't aware that the alcohol was making those situations and those reasons more difficult for us. So we just looked to alcohol to be the solution again, and clearly it wasn't. It was part of the problem. I've gone off a tangent here. I can't think where I'm going with this, but
you can say about emotional intelligence. Loads of tangents.
But, emotional intelligence. I'm hoping to acquire a lot more of it.
Not too much that you grow up too much, though, because
I don't want to be boring.
On your Instagram you look really fun. I
think it's just going through different, like you said before, we use alcohol when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're mad, and it's kind of drip fed to us that is what alcohol is for. You know, we go to funerals and we drink, we go to weddings and we drink, we graduate and we drink. It's just, so we never really go through. It's like when you go to a party, you know, them nerves that, like, I get really nervous around people, but growing up I thought I was quite confident, and it's not, it's so strange, isn't it? Just feeling the feels, good and bad, I think is it's a new thing, isn't it, when you stop.
You laugh more than you've ever laughed, and you cry more than you've ever cried. That's the way that I see it. Yeah,
this year for me with alcohol has definitely been an emotional roller coaster that I haven't enjoyed. There's been aspects to it I really haven't enjoyed, but on the other hand, I have discovered actually so much about myself.
Yeah,
and I mean, you know, you've spoken about my Instagram account. A year ago, I wasn't putting myself out there like that.
I love your Instagram account. Honestly, I've really enjoyed it.
But I can't believe that I've become this really bold, confident person. Because for me, it's almost like I had the opposite effect. It's almost like alcohol subdued my personality.
Yeah.
And squashed me to the point of invisibility. And it's only since I haven't been drinking that I've actually, like, really surprised myself and discovered parts of myself that I really, really like.
That's amazing. That is.
Do you know, though, why would it not suppress you and squash you? Because it's a depressant. And it squashes everything else. It squashes your emotion. It squashes your sadness. It does not squashes your nerves. So why would it not squash your creativity and your personality? Like I say, we've both had a little snoop on a big snoop on your Instagram, and I love how body positive you are.
Yeah.
You know, confident you come across. To me, you just look like somebody who's living life to the full.
Thank you. I mean, I am to a certain extent now. I'm very lucky. You know, I love what I do. publishing the magazine is fantastic. Life is great. And in all honesty, my life, you know, like everybody, I've had ups and downs. I've had shit years and great times.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying my life is generally so much better because of alcohol, but my understanding of myself and my appreciation of my life is so much better without alcohol.
Yeah.
That's been the big difference for me. And I've also been much more honest with myself. I just don't bother. It's as if I just don't feel the need to pretend anymore. And I was really using, as lots of people I know do, I was really using alcohol to cover up a lot of shame about aspects of my life that I didn't want to deal with. Some of the fears of confronting those emotions obviously were far worse than actually dealing with the emotions themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I think that's really honest of you, and it puts you in a very vulnerable position, and that's really warming as well. Yeah, it's nice to hear somebody else who we both can relate to on that level.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're trying to do something with the sober, you know, with what you're bringing about with sobriety, and how we're trying to open up talking about it more. And I think it's really important to be real about this.
Yeah.
And not to say, you know, as I say, I haven't ever used the term for myself as an alcoholic. I would never say I was an alcoholic. You can see, you can hear my fears around it as I'm
exactly the same, Rebecca. Honestly, I've never used that word, and I know some people do, and you know they're really comfortable with it.
Yeah,
it's not something I'm comfortable with.
No, I'm not.
It just, and I think that is the stigma around it is so huge. You know, like people will say to us, like, we're quite bold, you know, go around with our sobriety t-shirts on, and you know, I love to talk about it. Like, I can't wait to tell people me. I can't wait for somebody to say, do you want a drink? And me go, oh no, I don't drink, thank you. I love it. But there's such a huge stigma around it. I couldn't say that either, and I do exactly what you're doing. The last thing I'd want to do is say I'm an alcoholic.
But we're not.
I don't feel like I was.
No.
I mean, there's so much loaded in the term, and we've got so many preconceptions as to what an alcoholic looks like, the lifestyle of someone, you know, and it's actually I think it's quite unhelpful as well, because I think for me, I was convincing myself for a good few years that alcohol wasn't part of my problems.
Yeah.
You know, I'd get depressed, or I'd behave irrationally, or all sorts of things, but I wouldn't think, oh, it's because I drink too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that because I didn't fit in my head with how I saw someone that had a drink problem.
Yeah. And I think lots and lots of people, I really think a lot of people will relate to that.
I was just going to say the same thing, and I also think that often when you talk about alcoholics or dependence on alcohol, or say things like, oh, I don't drink, just as simple as that, all of a sudden the first thing on everybody's mind is, oh, you must have been a raging alcoholic. So that kind of leads me into what I wanted to ask you next.
Yeah.
And I want to know how people reacted, strangers and people who you knew, when you told them, or did you tell them even? What was the reception like?
So, you know, I'm all over Instagram, so I kind of made an announcement, if you like, via our Instagram feed that was it. I wasn't going to drink for a year. And I probably was initially, early on, I was kind of maybe doing a post once a week about my progress and how it felt. And I'd done a couple of blog posts that were going into quite detail about the process. And because I just thought, you know, it might be helpful for someone else that might be thinking about giving up alcohol or might be going through this. And then I was kind of getting snide comments from people like, oh, you know, do you think you're so clever giving up alcohol? And you make it look so easy, but, you know, come on, really, you're just having a sneaky glass of wine and you're just not telling it. You know, there was lots, and I know it's other people's stuff. We know that. We know
yes,
when we say, because I don't know about you two, but there's almost like kind of standard responses. When you say to someone, I'm not drinking, there's either the, oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, go on, just have one. I won't tell anyone. Or, well, yeah, but, why are you not drinking? And some people will just say, so are you in recovery? And some people just walk away as well, don't they? It must be really boring if you're not drinking, so I'll go and find someone else who's much more fun to talk to.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you experienced the people that then just, you've not even asked them and they go, oh, well, I don't need to stop drinking because I don't drink that much. Have you experienced?
Oh, yeah. yeah. Oh, it's okay because I can have a drink. I can take it or leave it. Yeah.
But I couldn't do 30 days.
And then there are people who just sort of think, I have had the kind of responses, oh my God, what do you do then? What do you do if you don't drink? Can you still go out? You still go to the pub? Yes. What about parties? Yeah. How did you cope with going on holiday? Actually, that was really difficult one for me this year.
Really?
That was really... So we went out to Mallorca for 5 days, and that was the closest I came to thinking, oh, bloody hell, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. I'm not an alcoholic. I can drink whenever I want.
But you didn't.
I didn't. No, I didn't. But that was the closest I came, really. Other than a couple of instances this week. Yeah.
And it is a fair trigger that, you're on holiday, you're in the sun, you're on your lounger, and us Brits, we're typically beer o'clock at 11 on the sun, so I think that's, if you got through that and you're saying that that's the closest you came, I think you're pretty human.
That was the closest I came. And then, in fact, it's just been this week, unfortunately, this week, I had some odd, where you get these really weird things going in your life. Some people came back into my life who I hadn't seen for a long time.
Yeah.
And I hadn't expected to see it. It was really, really sudden. And that kind of threw me. And Saturday night, we were out, and I realised that I was winding myself up about the fact that everyone else was having a drink and I wasn't. And I just had to say to my husband, look, I really don't want to be here. I want to go home and I want a cup of tea.
Massively brave. It's very brave, though.
And he was fine, and it was great. But yeah, so we can't expect, these are big changes we've decided to make in our lives. We can't expect to make these big decisions and these choices and them just be simple. But we're going to have to keep constantly reminding ourselves to a certain extent that this is our choice and this is what we're doing and these are the benefits that we've got from it, and it's not always going to be as straightforward as perhaps we would like.
No, I agree with that.
I think mindset is very important as well, isn't it? This I see people sometimes struggling, and when they feel like they're missing out all the time, and something we often try and encourage is to really focus on the benefits. Because it does make a difference, doesn't it, mindset?
Oh yeah, I get, someone said to me last week who hasn't seen me for a while, had I discovered the what was it they said, had I discovered the secret of reverse aging?
Oh really? Wow.
Oh, lovely. It was a really nice thing for someone to say to me. And my skin has just, without red wine, my skin has just changed so much. So
it's amazing the difference,
benefit.
Isn't it? I can't believe the difference in my skin from stopping drinking.
Yeah, I think that's been a definite benefit. I was a little bit disappointed because I haven't lost weight. Everyone else that I know that doesn't suddenly stop drinking manages to lose weight, and I haven't. So that was a bit disappointing.
I actually put on half a stone. No, I think I replaced my red white because I think I've come to the conclusion on this because I've on this, and actually there's a heck of a lot of sugar and calories in red wine.
Yeah.
So, and that was my drink of choice as well.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that when I dropped the red wine, I felt hungry because obviously I wasn't filling up on calories. So I know for a fact I do eat more. Plus,
I definitely,
so,
I mean, I don't know if you do, but I really craved sugar when I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Really big time craved sugar.
But it is because of that sugar content in your wine.
And certainly the
you're
first
not
2 months.
dehydrated.
Yeah.
So you're not as thin because you've got more fluid in your body. And that's the way I'm looking at it. Whether that's true or not, Rebecca, I don't care.
I don't know either, but
makes me feel better.
It worked for me.
So can you tell us, I mean, I know you've talked about health benefits just briefly then, but your magazine, now you've had your magazine going for how long?
18 months.
So obviously this is before you stopped drinking. Just be simply no here, I don't know. Have you noticed any difference creativity wise and life after that, with your magazine or not with it, or even in life?
Have I noticed anything creativity wise? I mean, I've got more time. I get more done. I didn't really drink. I didn't drink in such a way that I wasn't like I wake up every morning with a hangover or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was perfectly capable and able to still get up at 6 a.m. and do the things I do. So I wouldn't necessarily say I noticed I'd been more creative, but I've been more, because I've been so much more confident.
Yeah.
I've actually been much tougher and able to make decisions rather than deferring to other people. And that's made a difference to the magazine. And you're going to really see a big difference next year in the magazine.
Right.
Because I was the kind of person, I've always been a people pleaser. And I would drink to please other people.
Yeah.
People would go on, have a drink. I'd feel I couldn't offend them. And the same thing happened in my professional life as well. I've often deferred to other people, thought they were more able and more capable, better than I was at making decisions. And quite honestly, I'm just so annoyed with myself that I allowed myself to be that person, both in my private relationships and in my professional life. And I'm just never going to be that anymore. Alcohol, actually, from the age of 14 till when I stopped last year, so I was 54, so I basically drunk for 40 years, and I became a doormat at times, and that was it suppressed me so much. So yes, I am more. My creativity is more assured than it's ever been since I've stopped drinking. Definitely.
That's good.
It sounds quite dramatic, doesn't it? But it's.
But it's true, so why not? Let's watch our world. Here she comes.
That's
what, Rebecca? And do you think now, because what age did you say, sorry, that you'd stopped drinking?
So I was 54.
54. Do you wish that you had have done it years ago? Is there a part of you that thinks, if only I'd have done it then?
Yes. I wish I had never started drinking.
Oh, me too.
I really, really do. I wish that I didn't come from a family where drinking was so normalized and so accepted. I wish I hadn't developed such a dysfunctional relationship. Now I'm going to say, okay, so I was about to say a dysfunctional relationship to alcohol, but actually it was a dysfunctional relationship to myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got to work on, and and that is what I've been working on this year. Yeah.
I think you're doing an amazing job. I think you really, really are an inspiration, and
thank you.
I do honestly. I've really enjoyed. In fact, I could keep you on here for ages, but I've just looked, and we've literally got about 1 minute.
Before you go, then.
I know it's gone so quick. I know. I don't know why.
Well, and before we go, give us your top tip. First 30 days, if you were speaking to somebody who's starting out on their journey, what top tip would you give them?
Chocolate digestive biscuits.
Yes, I love it.
I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you, darling.
So much.
It was
So we
really
will...
nice talking to you.
Oh, and you, it's been a pleasure. That's it from us today. Join us next time when we'll be speaking to William Porter, the author of Alcohol Explained and Alcohol Explained 2. Bye.